Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us down here in the more intimate surroundings of stage number 2. For those of you who were here yesterday, I trust that you had a productive day. You've come back for more, so that must be a good sign. And for those of you who are here for the first time today, like me, actually, I think we have some very interesting and productive sessions lined up for you here and, of course, up on the main stage as well. My name is Matthew Warren, and I am a business and economics journalist here in France. I work for France 24, which is a 24-hour news channel based here in Paris, and I usually present the business news in the morning show, actually, which means at about this time I've usually just finished my last bulletin and I'm going home to bed. So this is kind of a nice change around for me in my weekday schedule. Now we're going to get stuck in a moment with this panel that you can see behind me. Before we do that, I've just got to say a few words that you may have heard already from Tim about the bar camps. Now, as you walk down here, you probably saw them. These are interactive, focused sessions led by an expert moderator about key topics, and I'm holding this because the topics that will be covered are in here in the middle of this. Now, there isn't one right now. The first one will be at 11:05, and what I'll do throughout the course of the day is just tell you which topics are going on, so that if you want to go and join one of those, you can. Okay, so let's meet our panel, and I just need my notes for this. As you can see, we have 3 speakers here, and we're going to talk about the rapidly expanding universe of Facebook apps. And let me introduce you to them one by one. First of all, here, advertising the company he works for on his T-shirt, very well, is Petrikas. Matas works for SoundCloud. And SoundCloud is the world's leading social sound platform. And if you're not sure what that is, then it's a place to create and share any kind of sound, music, voice, anything you like, I guess. And Matras should know something about that. He used to be a professional music producer himself. Sitting next to him, we have Gilles Storme. Gilles works for King.com, a worldwide leader in casual social gaming. Games you can play while relaxing. Yeah, that sounds like. Good, sounds fun, with 40 million players, correct? That company was founded about 10 years ago in Sweden, but it's now got offices all around the world. And then to talk about the rapidly expanding universe of Facebook apps, we've actually got somebody from Facebook, and that's Amina Belghiti. She's head of platform partnerships there in Europe, and her career prior to Facebook encompassed a few other companies you've probably heard of, PayPal, and eBay as well. Amina is going to moderate this session and get things going. And do remember that this is also about you being able to ask questions of the panelists. There is a microphone here that we can go to you, and Amina will invite you to ask questions at any point or stick your hand up if it's something really burning that you want to. So let's give a welcome to our panelists and get started. Hand over to you.
Hello, everyone. So great to have you here, and thank you to Gilles and Matas for joining me on this panel. What I thought I would do just to kick us off is talk a little bit about what a Facebook app is and why sort of the Facebook apps exist. And then we'll jump in and talk in a little more concrete terms about SoundCloud and about King and what makes for success as you guys think about building on the Facebook platform. So just high level, when you talk about Facebook apps, they can be sort of a variety of different things, and they exist on multiple platforms and across different industries. Some of this may be evident, but I found that actually in talking to various people, there can be areas that are a little bit misunderstood. So first of all, Facebook apps exist because in 2007, Facebook decided to open up its platform. And what that meant essentially was to allow third-party developers to tap into this very basic asset called the social graph, the ability to connect to people and to bring friends into third-party services. And when you think about sort of what that means and the power that really delivers to folks like King and folks like SoundCloud, is really to consider, I guess, a few different things. One is sort of the very basic need that exists today, that when you're listening to music or when you're playing a game, it's just better if you have your friends with you. It's really that simple. And so, you know, as you think about where these Facebook apps exist today, they exist on Canvas. So this is really inside of Facebook. That's sort of the first place that Facebook applications exist. And so games, for instance, are probably the first sort of runaway success from a platform perspective that really kind of tapped into these social channels and built interactions that really made sense inside of Facebook. Second place where you can think about a Facebook application existing is on the web and on the mobile web. So SoundCloud actually would be an awesome example of this. This is an application that really used the Facebook login, which is a way to authenticate with Facebook. And then inside of the service, they used Open Graph, they used a variety of other things to really bring the interaction alive. And then the last place that a Facebook app exists is really within native applications on iOS and Android. And again, you can use all of the tools that we'll speak about shortly to really bring your kind of social experience into your existing app. So we've got a list of questions here behind me, and you know, we'll go through some of them. We won't go through all of them. Feel free to ask us questions as we go. But really the idea is to say, I guess kind of kicking us off, how would you describe your journey as you thought about building on the Facebook platform? Why did you get started? Why did you go? Gilles, do you want to get us started?
Yeah. I guess for us, our games prior to Facebook were mainly played on King.com and also on co-branded partnerships with the main portals. So we were powering the games channels in Yahoo, AOL, Microsoft, MSN. And then Facebook came along, obviously. We saw that our users were kind of migrating from playing on these portals and migrating to Facebook. So that was the first thing. We obviously needed to follow our audience and see where, and put our games where the audience wanted to play the games. So that's the first thing. The second one is the type of audience that Facebook brought into the mix. So a lot of the users at the beginning of Facebook were women. And so we built games for women 25 to 55-year-old. So there was a perfect match there. And so we created games for women on a platform that had a lot of women. And so in a way, Facebook and us created a new generation of gamers that basically didn't play games. They wouldn't consider themselves as gamers 10 years ago. And now they consider themselves as gamers. But also, what they do now is they come to Facebook mainly to play games, and sometimes only to play games. So that's the second reason. The third reason, I think, that, like you said, Facebook made it very easy for game developers like us, gave us the tool, opened up their platform for us to come and tap into the potential that Facebook brought to us.
Matthias, do you want to answer that same question? What was the journey that brought you over to Facebook?
Yes, so SoundCloud was founded in 2007, and already next year, 2008, when we opened up, we clearly knew that we need to be on Facebook. And because we offer our sound creators also connection to the audience, we saw that audience back in 2008 was already migrating more towards Facebook. So more and more music and sound listeners were on Facebook. They were spending their time. So we clearly wanted to integrate with Facebook to bring our sounds into the Facebook platform. And if I'm not mistaken, our first application was SoundCloud profile on Facebook pages. So artists and sound creators could actually always have synced their sounds from SoundCloud on their Facebook pages. So that was quite successful. It's still running, as far as I know, but that was only a first step. So from that point, we did certain utility apps, and then we also had simple integration with sharing, and then we did Facebook Connect, which is one of the, I would say, most successful integrations we did. And then recently, as you know, a year ago, we did Open Graph integration. So.
Excellent. And one other kind of related question that I'll ask the two of you, and that is, oftentimes when we'll talk to partners in various industries, they think about their service and then they say, now how can I add social on top? It seems to me that in both of your cases, you've really thought about it from the bottom up in terms of how you've designed the service. How did that process sort of work internally?
For us, basically, when so again, prior to Facebook, when we launched our games were mainly tournament-based. And when we tried the tournament-based model on Facebook, we realized that the users didn't want this model. So we had to rethink the way we were building our games. So we did quite a few testing on Facebook, and then so we came to build instead of a tournament-based gaming model, we build a level-based game model, and we sagified our games. So instead of saga for a long story, and so we created hundreds and hundreds of levels on our games. The saga suffix became the signature of the King.com game. So we have Bubble Witch Saga, Candy Crush Saga, and then we created a social layer around the games. And the social layers has three main components. The first one is we created a tutorial level within the game, so that when we acquire users from the social graph, we basically keep the user entertained. So the second day retention is absolutely crucial for us. That's one thing. The second element is we created collaborative element within the game. So you can, like you said, people like to play games with their friends. So we created elements that help that. So you can give lives to your friends. You can send them coins. You can send them presents. But you also, we ask users to ask for their friends' help to unlock levels, to go from one level to another. That element is very important to create engagements in the game, and also to create virality and to acquire new users. And the third element was to create a storyline within the games. Every game of us has a map as the center of the game. So you play a level. Once you finish that level, you come back to the map at the center of the game, and that map basically allows the users to do two things. First of all, to see where it is in the game, and that basically also allows us to show to the users that there's going to be more content coming up, and that there are hundreds of levels to play. And the second element, which is the social element, which is to allow the users to see where their friends are within the game, and also how well they do against their friends. And so there is that, it feeds that kind of competitive nature that I think all of us have. So these are the three elements.
Well, at SoundCloud we are possibly in a unique position where we have two variations of social graph. So one is the social graph based around taste, around the listening taste, and that's how we started building SoundCloud around it, and also our integration on Facebook. So meaning that sound creators, musicians were attracting their audience. They were broadcasting their uploads, their sounds to their existing audience and expanding it. And the social graph grew around the creator. Fairly recently we started growing the social aspect around listening experience, because listening experience is something that can be shared across your own social graph, so private social graph. I think Facebook is incredibly good at that. So that's a perfect platform for the private social graph. So for people who know each other possibly in real life, and then there is a high probability that they will share a common taste in music, in sounds, possibly in music, books, and so on. And we used that then to surface the most popular sounds in your social graph, and this kind of generating virality in your social graph, and that seems to be working quite well, actually. I think that having these both lines of strategy, where one is based around taste and another is based on your like personal social graph activities and sound, they really enrich each other, I think.
That sounds good. Just a quick follow-up question for you. How would you or how do you guys think about measuring success, right? What does success look like in terms of your integration with Facebook? And how does that tie to your broader metrics for SoundCloud?
Yeah, so for us, we do a lot of measurements on Facebook. We are using your Facebook Insights tool, Facebook Analytics, which is really good. And a few metrics we are looking at, a total number of actions published. So Open Graph is publishing any action we decide to push to Facebook. And I think in the last 12 months we published 500 million actions on Facebook. We can see the virality of these actions, so how many people actually saw them, how many people liked them. So virality is obviously probably a second biggest metric. So number of actions published and number of interactions on particular action.
That makes sense, yeah. So it's very much kind of engagement driven. King, I think obviously you guys have that in addition to perhaps another metric related to revenue, I think, right?
I mean, we want happy users, basically. That's what we want. And so to have happy users, you need good quality games. And so from that, you need to work on a number of KPIs. So obviously the number of users to the game, so daily active users, monthly active users are very important. Then the engagement within the game, so how many game sessions does a user play a day? So for us, this is kind of, this averages 10 times, so 10 game sessions per day, which is quite amazing, I think. Finally, I think there's stickiness as well. Very important. So I think this is something that King is very strong at, and it's probably helped us to put us there on the map. So which means stickiness is what is the proportion of our monthly users who come back and play the game every day, and that is for us that's well above 25%, 25-30%. So this is very important from that. And I think if you work well on these three key metrics, then the revenue will take care of itself.
That sounds good. Just one follow-up question for you on that. Can you talk a little bit about how you leverage the Facebook advertising platform in addition to drive some of the growth from an acquisition standpoint?
Well, we basically have a team of specialists in the house. We used to use an external agency to run this. We've taken that in the house and build a specialist team who work with the Facebook API and obviously have developed a number of tactics, strategies to acquire users. This is one of the main way we acquire users is obviously through the Facebook platform. It allows us to do a lot of targeting. Which is extremely important. I think the other ways we acquire users are through virality, which is important, and through cross promotion within the existing games that are already built.
Yeah. And what would you say are some of the best practices for either newcomers, so folks who maybe haven't yet leveraged the platform yet, and then those perhaps who have been around a little bit as well?
For me?
Advice, yeah, for you as well.
Oh God, that's a big question. I think one of the thing that Facebook offers is data. There's a lot of data around there. So if you were to, you need to be, and I think that's what we are at King, is we are very, very data driven. we A/B test everything that we do, and use the data that is available and that Facebook makes available to you to test your product and make sure that when you take a decision, it's not based on someone's intuition or based on a person, but it's on something that you really have A/B tested.
That makes sense, yeah. One other quick one for you, and that is, as we were talking about earlier, gaming is really sort of the first sort of big success from a Facebook platform standpoint in the early days and obviously today. Could you speak briefly to, because for you, the business really pivoted as you thought about sort of what it took to build on Facebook. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how that pivot happened internally and sort of any advice again for folks who are perhaps in that process right now inside of their own businesses?
Yes, so obviously, like you said, the company kind of took a strategic decision to focus on Facebook and also on tablets and mobile, and so we had to restructure the business around these poles. What we did is, firstly, we really looked at where the market was going, and we saw that people wanted to play games on Facebook, on social, so on Google as well, on mobile and on tablet. And so we have built our business around this. So we want to offer a seamless experience for our users. So if they want to play a particular game, that game is going to be available on King.com, on Facebook, and on mobile. And further to that, and I think King.com is one of the only companies that offers that, is if you play a game, let's say Bubble Witch Saga, and you are on level 55, you have 5 lives, you have 1,500 points or coins in your bank account, you have bought the vision, the charm of vision to help you to shoot bubbles a bit more precisely. So you have all these elements on Facebook. If you want to play the game on tablet, you can connect to Facebook, and you can basically have exactly the same elements. So you'll play the game on the 55th level with your 5 lives, your 1,500 coins, and with that charm of vision there available for you. So that's very important. So seamless game experience across the different platforms. The second thing is we really focus on the target audience that we know best. So we build games for women 25 to 55. We've always done that, and we continue to do that. That's extremely important to us. This basically gives us a clear focus within the company. It also helps us in terms of driving advertising partnership deals with brands. So we are creating advertising programs with the likes of Procter & Gamble, Kellogg's, Nestle, T-Mobile, Samsung. They that audience of women 25 to 55 is extremely valuable for advertisers, and we just offer solutions that are completely integrated in the mechanics of the games, and that help where the brand comes into the game and offer a better game experience for the users. So that's the second point. The third point is strategy that we have a very clear and deliberate multi-staged approach to our development. So when we develop games, we develop them first of all for King.com, and this King.com, our website, works as a laboratory, as a test environment for the games. If a game is successful on King.com, then we will sagify it and socialize it and put the social wrapper and envelope around it and put it on Facebook and grow it on Facebook. And when it has reached a certain size on Facebook, then we pass it to mobile and to tablet, and that's been a kind of what our CEO says, it's basically hit-proofing a hit business. So gaming in a way is like the film industry. So you release a game, you're never sure if it's going to be a big hit. But this way of working for King.com has been very successful. I think all the games that we released on Facebook have been big hits, and that definitely has helped us to become number 2, the second largest developer. Excellent. So these are the kind of the 3 key elements to the strategy.
That sounds good, thanks. Matas, a few questions for you. The first is around Open Graph. So Open Graph was launched about a year ago, and you guys were one of the first to implement it. Could you speak a little bit about the impact that it's had on your business?
Well, I can't go in all the numbers, but like I mentioned, 500 million actions describe the scale pretty well. So what is an action? Essentially, with Open Graph, we enabled our users to publish all their activity on SoundCloud to Facebook, to their social graph, meaning their friends could see what music, what sounds they are listening to, what do they like, what do they upload. I think that was actually one of the most successful actions, so creation. Obviously, we were really impressed by the impact it had. And for us, it was quite an interesting experience because it was so early in Open Graph, but it also proven that the collaboration between our technical experts and also Facebook people on the platform team, it was really nice. So we could exchange our opinions, and being that early in integration phase, we could also, I hope, do have some like kind of positive impact on the final outcome. So there was an interesting phase, I would say, that before we had Open Graph integration, most of the people kind of knew in advance about SoundCloud, or were stumbling upon SoundCloud via maybe search or some blog that had our widget embedded, the sounds. But once we got the Open Graph integration, we saw like a new crowd coming to SoundCloud. So the people who were around the creator, so creators' friends, musicians' friends who were joining SoundCloud, and it got viral. So the friends of musicians' friends, and so on and so on. And as I said, virality is an essential metric for SoundCloud, so, and also for sound itself. So for us, it was important that we facilitate sharing. So sharing starts with a creator, somebody who creates the sound, but it continues with a listener, with a person who likes it, who maybe creates a playlist of his or her favorite sounds, and they share it, and people who listen to it reshare it, and so on. So it's kind of about getting that viral loop going and facilitating it, making sure it doesn't stop.
Makes a lot of sense. You talked a little bit about kind of working on the Facebook platform, and one of the pieces of feedback that we get pretty often is that it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. Sometimes it's a little hard to keep up. Can you give me a sense for what it took for you guys over the last year, and I guess as over time as you've worked with us, to really stay ahead?
Well, obviously it depends. I imagine that not every company integrates as tight as we do, but we started just putting a few people on it temporarily and got an integration going, and then we saw, oh, there is another API possible we can do, let's do it also, and then we saw, oh, there is this change coming, so we need to take care of it. And what we ended up having now, we have a dedicated team for external integrations, which spends most of their time of looking into ways of improving our Facebook integration and other network integrations. It's not that big. I think we are currently like in the external integrations team, we have maybe 3 people, 3 engineers. But I think it makes sense for any bigger company to have a dedicated team for external integrations. I would totally recommend it, because these people have to be on top what's going on, what's changing. And well, SoundCloud's internal culture is also a lot about change, about evolution. So we are not staying where we are. We're always reaching to higher goals, leveling up, and we see a common pattern on Facebook. So for us, it makes sense to work in that way, definitely.
That makes sense. One other question for you, and that is around mobile. Can you talk a little bit about your vision for mobile and how Facebook's mobile platform plays into it?
Well, in general, I mean, I don't want to be repeating the thing you've been hearing for the last few years, probably, but future is about mobile, and it's not only future. Present is about mobile. Everybody's on mobile, and you just look at sales numbers of Android, for example, and it's completely ridiculous. It changes everything. So obviously we know about that, and we invested a lot of time in our mobile experiences, both on native and mobile web, and I think it's totally worth it. It's totally worth spending more and more time there. We see different behavioral patterns on mobile and desktop, so it's clear that you cannot just take the experience you have on desktop and put it on a small device. It just doesn't work. So it might work the other way, but actually you might consider into looking into kind of different kind of experience. So for example, on desktop web, SoundCloud has tons of features. It's helping creators, it's helping listeners, curators, and so on. But on mobile, we're concentrating on a couple of very simple use cases. So one is recording of audio, like casual recording of audio, and another is listening. So that's where you set the simple goals. What do you want to reach with a particular use, and then you invest your time. When it comes to Facebook integration, I think one of the lesser known features of Facebook app, but I would totally recommend everybody to look at it. It's the single sign-on and App Center integration. It's like I meet so often our product managers and CEOs of our companies who are complaining that it's so hard to get your attention in app stores. So both in Google Play App Store and in Apple App Store. Because there are like millions now, probably millions of apps, and it's very hard to get featured, and it's very hard to get discovered. And Facebook offers the possibility to be discovered, and you can just you integrate with App Center. I think it takes less than a day, probably, and you can start seeing people virally distributing your app, essentially. Send to mobile is one of the best features. You just click, and in a second you see that app already appearing on your Facebook app. And if I'm not mistaken, Facebook app is still the most installed native app on mobile, right? So yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Facebook is playing a major role, even on the mobile stuff. We have the way we release our games. So King.com first, then Facebook, then mobile. Is there's obviously a reason, and one of the reasons is that like you said, Facebook allows applications that are already installed on someone's page to be discovered by that person on the Facebook app directly, and so that helps to to distribute and create virality for your application on mobile as well. I think one thing as well is that in terms of marketing, I think it's probably still very difficult to create in terms of user acquisition to create marketing campaigns to acquire users on mobile that are actually positive in the sense that you acquire users and you're going to generate a longer revenue from that user. It's very difficult to do that on mobile. I think on Facebook, it's a simpler, it's a bigger platform. You can do that on Facebook, and so I think it's important to start first with Facebook and then to go with mobile.
That makes sense. So I'll ask one last question, and then I'll open it up to the room to make sure that we're able to answer your questions as well. And the last question is, if you had a wish list of things that you could ask Facebook to do for your business, what would it be? What would be at the top of that list?
I think for us it would be for Facebook to generate even more gamers on the platform. So at the moment there are 230 million gamers monthly on Facebook, and we'd like to see more coming on board. And I guess the second one is to create even more. Sorry, my phone is ringing. So the second one is, I guess, is to I lost the train of thought there. But the second one is to create actually more, the opportunity to go from integration between the different platforms with mobile and Facebook online.
That sounds good. Let's ask what's at the top of your wish list.
Oh, we have a very long list. I'll better email it to you. But a few points I would say. Definitely, we want more numbers. We want more insights, more analytics. We saw already some very positive developments in recent months in terms of presentation of data. But we hope that in the future we'll get even more precise data on virality. So, for example, that's, as I mentioned, it's essential metric for us. So we'd love to see that in insights. And well, definitely we would love to explore the possibilities of the better listening integration on mobile. I think it's still an unsolved problem, and I hope that Facebook might lead the way there, because I don't know about any alternatives where, a big app would allow you to have a listening experience on mobile between two apps. So we have people's ears, and we want to continue having them. So.
That sounds good. Thank you very much. All right. So from the audience, do we have somebody with a mic who... Or maybe they can just speak up. I don't know if somebody has a mic that they can take around. Thank you very much, Matthew. Please just tell us who you are and then who the question is addressed to.
Thanks. Nicolas Menou, Nikki in the Clouds. I've got a question concerning the apps. I would like to know if you have any feature you decided not to publish or remove because you have to ask more authorization for the users concerning to access of their personal information. Do you modify something?
I don't think we have had that yet. So we are asking for very little upfront from the user. We know that to be able to make a better, recommendation to the user on what sounds to listen to, we might ask for more. But our experience shows that if you carefully select what you're asking user, you will get from a user. So obviously nobody likes to see, app X requires like 12 fields to access on your profile. So if you plan carefully, and also I think Gilles mentioned A/B test, definitely you'll get the information you need.
And actually, exactly as you were saying, the more permissions you ask for, the lower your conversion on that initial. I mean, it literally is for every single additional permission you lose probably about 10%. So think really hard about what it takes for your service to work well from a social perspective and just ask for that. And as things evolve, you can always obviously increase, but really ask for what's required to make it work.
Hi, this is Michael from Rovio. I had a question or more like a wish list as you asked. So I've been developing games with different companies, not only Rovio, but others, for Facebook for I think like 2.5 years, few titles, few bigs, few small ones. And what I've seen as the time has passed, during even these 2 years, is that the users have been acting pretty differently. As we started on, it was a major hit. Mafia Wars, Farmville were big then, and then it sort of plateaued, and I was basically asking that, what is Facebook doing towards increasing the amount of players? Because as King.com said, it's been around 200 million for a while, and what I see in user tests and what I see with people is that they're afraid of clicking on requests. They don't like the notifications from games because they don't know what it is, so they don't want to click it. So I was thinking, like, are you planning to do some kind of off Facebook campaign saying that it's okay to play games? It's okay to play Bubble Witch Saga? It doesn't make you nerdy. It doesn't make you bad. It's a good entertainment.
What we're doing actually is working with a pretty broad range of gaming partners to essentially try to develop as well, right, new gaming categories so that you are able to go after new customer segments. So in addition to the ones that currently play on Facebook, you know, you could imagine all kinds of sort of niche games or games that begin as niche games that really grow. And we're seeing some good success there. And so I think, you know, it's on the one hand ensuring that, you know, the variety of games that exist appeals to a broader base. And then two, doing more and more work really to encourage gamers to try different games within Facebook. And I think that's something that there's a whole team dedicated to doing that. But I'll take that as an item on the wish list. We've heard it as well.
Can you have Justin Bieber or Lady Gaga playing some games and then posting Facebook notes on that? That would be great.
I'll jot that down.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Zumino, and my question is about you know, the opportunity to build an app on Facebook. So we are a small startup, Tiki Labs, and we have an application for people to build email signature about them. They can put, you know, content on this about them, you know, their profiles and documents or anything. And so what would be your advice for us to build an application on Facebook, you know, for customer acquisition mainly? How should we go about it?
Do you guys want to give it a shot?
Should I answer? Or?
Yeah, sure.
So it's hard to say from knowing so little about the idea, but my guess is that, well, a great way to start it is to have a Facebook login, so definitely. And using Facebook login, you can also ask for permissions to publish the open graph, and once people create an account or create a signature with your app, you can push that event to Open Graph, so people know that they did it, and that could start the virality, you know, of your application. So if social graph of that particular person knows about your event, they might be interested also to try it out. So that potentially could be a good first step, I would say.
The other thing I would just note, and then I realize we're out of time, so the team will have to let us know if it's okay to take another question, but just think hard as well about where your users are, and think about whether it makes sense to build a Canvas application or to actually build a service on either on a sort of on your own site or as an application, as a mobile app. Really think hard about that. I've seen a lot of people try to recreate a whole new audience inside of Canvas, and that might not make sense for you. So just have a think about what platform actually makes sense, and then within that, obviously, you embed Facebook.
Right. Well, we'll have to break, but let's shoot the last question, all right?
Good morning, Amina. I'm Patrick from Views.com. Good morning, Gilles. My question is about mobile monetization. Are the CPMs getting better? And for Gilles, do you have any evidence of CPMs on Android being better than CPM on iOS?
Yes, so yes, definitely monetization on mobile is better than monetization on social. Basically, and then iOS is better than Android. That's our experience. But you know, I can't go into the details of the figures. But that's what we see.
I guess just one quick note on that. I'll just talk about the mobile app install product, which is something that's come out a few months ago that basically helps developers actually drive installs in addition to just traffic to their service. And that's something that is relatively new, but is evolving a fair bit and really helps you get to really kind of a cost per install because you can track it all the way through. So just have a think about that.
Thank you. We have to break. I leave you the conclusion.
Thanks, Philippe. Okay, well, thanks very much for that. Very interesting. I think I saw a few more hands than we had time for questions, so hopefully you're not darting off straight away and you can grab them and give Amina your wish list as well if you've got some as well. I'm sure she'd be delighted to hear it. Thanks very much. Let's give a round of applause for our panel.
Thank you. So we break now. We are a lot behind. We are behind the schedule, unfortunately. So we'll be back here at 11:05, and I think you'll get an announcement where we come back here on stage 2. So we thank you for your attention.